Let's go over two very simple but highly effective exercises that can make a massive difference when recovering from a biceps injury. And then if you want to stick around and learn why these exercises are so effective and what sets them apart from more common biceps rehabilitation exercises, then you can stick around afterwards for all the geeky details. But let's be mindful of your time and start with the exercises. The first exercise involves placing a band of some type around two posts, which is typically something like a squat rack or similar piece of gym equipment. But just find what works best for you. Now, there's no one type of band that you have to use, so whether it's TheraBand or a looped band of some type, again, just find what works best for you. You'll likely want to rig up the band with a moderate amount of tension, but you can always fine-tune it to your exact needs. More tension will make the exercise more challenging, while less tension will do the opposite. And from there, you simply grip the band and twist your palm upwards while keeping your elbow bent to 90 degrees and tucked into your side. This may not look like a biceps movement or exercise, but it absolutely is. And if you stick around, you'll learn why this movement, which is called supination, is such a big deal for biceps rehabilitation. The second exercise is similar to the first, but there's a unique difference that sets it apart. For this exercise, we're actually fighting against a resistance that is trying to pull us into a supinated or underhand position. Unlike the first exercise where we had to fight to produce supination against the band, in this exercise, we're using a weight that pulls us into supination, but we fight to control the movement as it occurs, which can be very effective for challenging the biceps tissue. This controlled movement is known as eccentric supination, and it can be done with any type of object that has a weight towards the end of its shaft. Why this can be quite the challenge for the biceps muscle is something we'll get into in just a moment. An eccentric muscle contraction simply refers to a muscle that is being forced to lengthen from a shortened position at a controlled rate, which is exactly what's happening here. Simply use enough weight that makes it challenging to control the movement over the span of a few seconds. The slower you go on this movement, the better. If you go too quick, you'll let gravity do the work, which is something we want to avoid. You might also strain or tweak your biceps from the sudden force of having to slam on the brakes to stop the movement. I'm using a designated torque bar with some weight loaded at the end, but I have many patients who get creative and use other objects to get the job done. If you have a heavy hammer, that can often get the job done, or you can even tape a light dumbbell to a hammer and so on. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to work. And keep in mind that the more you choke up on the bar, the less challenging the movement will be, while the further down the shaft you go, the more torque and thus challenge you'll place on the biceps tissue. With either of these exercises, the number of sets and reps you'll need to do will be dependent upon factors unique to your situation, but a general range of 2 to 3 sets with 10 to 15 repetitions is generally a good ballpark for a starting point when rehabbing from general, mild to moderate bicep strains. For much of the time, the goal is to feel moderate fatigue by the last repetition without any sharp pain arising. Now, I can't get any more specific on how intense or how often you may want to do these exercises, as it all depends on the individual circumstances of one's injury and condition. So as always, it's best to seek an evaluation from a qualified professional. Okay, so those are two supination exercises that can be done for biceps injury rehabilitation. Now, let's geek out and talk about why this movement is often so critical for these types of situations. So everyone knows that the bicep muscle is the primary muscle that helps us bend our elbow, but the biceps is also a very powerful supinator of the forearm. It's not the only muscle that produces supination, but it's responsible for the majority of this action taking place when the elbow is bent. And the biceps is able to do this because the common tendon that arises from both the medial and lateral head inserts onto a bump on the radius bone in the forearm, which is known as the radial tuberosity. So when the elbow is bent and the biceps muscle contracts, it spins the radius as it pulls on the radial tuberosity, creating supination. So naturally, the question becomes, why not just perform biceps curls or elbow bending exercises to rehabilitate the muscle? Well, first of all, by no means am I saying that biceps curls shouldn't be performed as part of rehabilitation. Most people can indeed benefit from this and should incorporate them into some aspect of their rehabilitation. But when rehabilitating from a muscular injury, it's important to challenge and strengthen the muscle and its respective tendons through all the movements the muscle can produce. And supination is often neglected in this regard. It's not uncommon that individuals who strain or injure their biceps find that as they recover, that it doesn't hurt to bend their elbow all that much, but that it hurts to turn their hand upwards or supinate their forearm, or that this movement just feels weak or not quite right. And we need to remember that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and if the biceps tissue struggles to tolerate resistance with supination, then it can predispose us to higher risk of re-injury or general aches and pains within the biceps biceps or elbow region. So attacking supination while the elbow is bent as a means to ensure complete robustness of the biceps tissue is often something worth considering. Now, if you want a fun bonus fact, check this out. Since the long head of the biceps actually crosses the shoulder joint itself, it acts as a muscle that can help produce shoulder flexion, albeit to a very minor extent. Nonetheless, this can be helpful to know when rehabbing from long head of biceps tendonitis or similar issues, but that's for another video. And if you'd like to learn more about this, then feel free to let me know in the comments below and hopefully I could make a video on it. And hey, if you stayed to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. It takes a lot of time and effort to produce these videos. I'm trying my absolute best to create high quality content that helps others learn how to live stronger and healthier lives. And if that's something that you appreciate, please feel free to hit the like button as a way to team up where we can help spread the word about the science and art of coming back stronger. All right, everyone, you know how it goes. Keep looking after yourselves, keep looking after one another, keep making great things happen, and I will see you in the next video.